Are you a perfectionist? Do you have problems with your flaws? Well, you're in luck because today we're going to talk about how to be imperfect. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Now, I know you've never had this issue of being imperfect, but how do you think it is for somebody who is imperfect?
No, I am. I'm perfect every day, all the time. It's great. Yeah, we must all struggle with this, right? I mean, there's always things that we like, we get frustrated, we get upset, where we think we know something and then like about ourselves, our lives, our situation, and then turns out we don't. It's like, and I think we all try to be perfect or think we should be. And I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's even the right way to look at it.
I actually read some about perfectionists the other day that one, they're either like in delusion, thinking they've done something miraculous and they're perfect, or two, they're just terribly depressed because they're not perfect. It's like
Well,
that's a pretty terrible way to live. Huh.
it is. And you're right though. It's like, depression comes with it because you can never be perfect, right? And then a lot of times I've also read too, they've done studies where it's like an unconscious mechanism too to limit yourself, prevent yourself from like accomplishing things because you never get things done. You always think things are like bad, instead of just getting it out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found myself like holding myself from celebrating small victories because it's not perfect enough or something, or I
Yeah.
take it for granted.
Yeah.
But you
Or
know,
you drag your feet sometimes, because you don't have something done just right enough and you don't want to put it in. It's like, well, you're just wasting time. Yeah, just get it
yeah,
out there. Yeah.
yeah. So in this episode, this quick fix, we're each going to share three tips for how to be imperfect. I'm going to go first since I introduced today. So my first one for how to be imperfect is try to be perfect.
Yeah,
It's
that
just
works.
like I know, right? It's like if you want to be imperfect, just try to be the opposite and see how well that goes for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have perfectionist tendencies, and the
Boy.
more closer I think, especially when I delude myself into thinking that I'm even close to perfection, it's just like boom, life smacks me upside the head, and it's like, guess what? You're imperfect.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I mean, I can remember very clearly too, especially like because I get caught in like the perfectionist trap, especially when I'm working on like my own projects. I remember writing papers like as a good example, like where like I like, you would look at these published like works and you'd use that as your model, but it's like they spent how long on it? It's been edited how many times? It went through other people editing it like professional, it's like so when you look at it, it's like, your paper you're writing for the end of the semester is not going to be like there's just no way that you're going to get that level of like, clarity and everything. And it just kills you, it is. So if you just strive for perfection, you will realize very quickly that you are not perfect. One of the
Yeah, right.
easiest ways. Yeah. Uh, My first one is, just be, because don't worry, you already are imperfect. I think we all are. I think, it's just a lie when we try to tell ourselves we're perfect or like we are like, I mean, perfection is supposed to be an ideal. It's not something that's supposed to be realized. It's something you strive towards, I think. Yeah.
Mm, that is good. Just be. Talking about just being, that brings me to my second one, which is look at nature. This is something where like every time I go for a walk outside, like the other day I was walking and I saw some leaves on the ground that were different colors, and I was just like, wow. Like it was like a moment of perfection where I was like, wow. But then if you think about it, that tree's like, oh, my leaf fell off. I'm not perfect anymore. And it's like you can see the perfection in the imperfection, and it kind of reminds you that like there's beauty in things that aren't perfect.
Well, what I like about that one too is like we try to make everything homogenous the same, like we really do. We always model things on other things. We always try to make everything look familiar and comfortable, but when you go out in nature, even though there's things like there's oak trees or whatever types they're all different, they're all unique, and I think there's like a beauty in that, and there's something to celebrate in that, I think, more than everything being identical and the same and blah. So I think that, yeah, I think that's a great one because going out in nature, you just see it everywhere, right? You see beautiful things everywhere, and none of them are perfect. You know.
Hmm.
My next one is just remember, like, keep learning and keep trying to grow, because I think that's a great way to just also keep in mind that we aren't perfect, right? There's always something else we can do. There's always something else we can add on, and it's keeping that open mind about the world and like our capabilities, I think, is good.
Mm, yeah, that's an awesome one. And plus, like with the keep learning stuff, you can look for areas of imperfection to actually learn more in that area, which is
Yeah,
cool.
that's a good one.
Yeah. So my last one, number 3 for me, is recognize your gifts. So this is something like we all have our gifts, and our gifts make room for us. They're like the things that we are better than almost everybody at with the least amount of effort. And not everybody's going to have the same thing. We worship these celebrities. Like everybody's like, oh, Steve Jobs, so creative. Well, he was a jerk. Like,
Yeah, he
he
was a
was
total
not
jerk.
perfect. He was a jerk. And like, we're like, oh, Elon Musk, he's so rich and so cool. And it's like, he's
He's
autistic.
self-destructing
Like,
on Twitter.
yeah, right. Like all of these people, yes, there are some facets that are really nice, but there's also a whole bunch of other stuff that comes along with it. So kind of remembering it and looking for your gifts, because you may not have all the money, you may not have the looks, you may not have all this stuff, but guess what? There is some stuff that you have that you probably are taking for granted that other people would kill for to be in the same position that you are.
I like that one a lot too, because you're right. I think, it's stuff that we usually do take for granted because it's so natural for us, that we don't even think of it as something, special or something, that's has value. Because when you experience it every day, it's like you forget that it's something unique. So I think that's a really good one because thinking about like what do I have that does set me apart and what is easy for me, because that's a great area to explore. Yeah, I like that one. That's a really good one. My last one is, and goes nicely with that, is just strive to be authentic. I think so much of the world now, because we have this like connection, is about like just being the same as everybody else and trying to conform to these ideas of like, the good life, beauty, I mean, everything you can think of. And it sucks because I think it really does limits, the amount of like interesting people, uniqueness, and like things in the world that should be celebrated. So yeah, I think strive to be authentic is a great way to be imperfect too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because like if you think about it, we're all like that tree with the beautiful leaf that fell off.
Yeah.
We're all individual, even though we're all oak trees or human beings or whatever, we're all just little iterations of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, in a nutshell, my friends, is how to be imperfect, the definitive instruction manual.
There you go.
This is the
The perfect
existential.
manual.
I know, right? Uh, so make sure to check us out on YouTube, also wherever you get your podcasts. This is the Existential Stoic Podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Andy.